you can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, baby, you can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, baby, you can have whatever you like.
Good evening, good evening. This is the New Orleans Talk Network. And I'm your host, Remus Bowman. Joining me today is all me. It's just you and me. The number to call in is area code 504-362, 504-361-8255. If you have a question about your credit, give me a call. I can probably answer it for you. According to surveys, up to 80% of all information that's contained on our credit reports may have flaws in it. A lot of times, we fail to know or realize that there are things going on with our credit report because we fail to pull them. We don't know what's on there. Every week, I suggest to everyone to pull a copy of your credit report. And the reason why you want to pull a copy of your credit report, how are you going to know if somebody's stealing your information? How are you going to know if some information on your credit report's not correct, if it's not even you? How do you know if there's been an error in the placement of a collection account that doesn't belong to you? But the first thing you have to do is, if you'll pull a copy, and it's free, you can go to Credit Karma, freecreditreport.com. The feds have made a law that give you an opportunity to get a free copy of your credit report at least once a year, free of charge. That includes a complete rundown of all the information on all three credit reporting agencies. That information is available to you, and the only way that you're going to know if something's on there that shouldn't be on there is to take a look at it. If you have a problem pulling it up, believe me, I'll be more than happy to help. Also, I'm going to be featuring information on my V card today. You may see the V card on my screen. It's a video card, an actual video card. If I'm going to give you the information you need to pull up the information for the V card, if in fact you don't see the way to do it. On many of the documents that we publish, a lot of those V cards, the information's right there. If you're on Twitter, if you'll look under my Twitter information, it will show V card written right under. If you just press that information, the V card will come straight up, and after you pull the information and you see the V card, you'll be able to actually use it. You'll be able to go to that V card and get the information you need to make a good decision. If you'll go to it, this is what it looks like. Excuse me, 1 second. Let's go to Instagram. We're gonna go to Instagram. Right under my Instagram page, it says, if you want to understand how to get a good credit score, check out You and Your Credit on YouTube with Remus Bowman and subscribe. Check out my V card. Directly below the V card, where it says check out my V card, is the information that I'm talking about. All you have to do is press that. If you'll press the V card, it'll go to a screen that looks a little bit like something like me at a different time. Fortunately, I've been on a diet and lost a few pounds, but the V card actually works. If you want to find out about the information on the credit reporting on the card, and you want to watch a video on how the program works, just go right to it. V card actually works. I've been able to help a great number of people by using the V card. And if you want to get into the credit restoration program by using the V card, just go down where it says that you want to enroll. And when you enroll with the V card, it'll open up. So it says there's some testimonies, and it also says enroll now. If you want to enroll, The information's right there. It's only $87, and you can enroll right now today. If you don't see that, you can. If you got a pen, let me give you this. It's just jot down M period myvbc.net/Remus. If you'll go to my V card, you'll be able to communicate with me. That information comes directly to me. If you got questions for me and you don't want to ask them over the air, we'll be more than happy to respond to you immediately after the show. But we're going to talk about credit reporting agencies. Not so long ago, I got a phone call. And before I talk about this, maybe what I should do is I should tell you that in the state of Louisiana, the statute of limitations is only 3 years. So after, what happens is if a collector or if a person that you owe a debt to, a company that you owe a debt to, credit card, automobile, any type of furnitures and things like that, if they fail to collect that debt and they put that debt on your credit bureau as uncollectible, you have 3 years from the date that they put the information on the credit bureau saying that it's uncollectible, because that means that they're writing it off, that they've actually given up the right to collect on that debt. They no longer have a right to collect it, and as a result, they will sell the debt to a collection agency. And what happens is the collection agency is looking to collect the debt as a discount on behalf of the original credit grantor. Now they've cut themselves in, is what actually have happened. And a lot of times credit collection agencies will use different tactics. They'll call you, they'll threaten to go to your employer, they'll threaten to have you put in jail. All that stuff is baloney. They can't do any of those things, and we're gonna approach that information in just 1 minute. But the reason why I actually went back and brought up this subject is because back during Katrina, I was living in Atlanta, and of course I have the VA for insurance. I have an insurance TRICARE. And I'd gotten somewhat ill. Katrina caused a lot of people a great deal of hardship. In my particular instance, my blood pressure shot up. I went through a bad time, a very difficult time. And so on one particular instance, I had to use an ambulance. Now, Katrina was in 2005. This situation with this ambulance occurred in, I think, January of 2006. So I get a phone call from a collection agency. And the guy says, I'm calling from an XYZ collection agency on behalf of YOU ambulance service. And back in 2006, you used an ambulance while you were a resident in Georgia. Now, based on everything that I knew up until this point, all my debts for my medical situation when I was living in Georgia had long been paid or satisfied. Now, so this guy calls me out of the blue. And as I said a moment ago, based on the information I have, because this is over 10 years ago, there was no way this guy could know that he was talking to someone who was not gonna allow him to manipulate him. So I listened to him, and I thought to myself, I said, this guy must not know who he's talking to, or he's just crazy. But the fact of the matter is that many debt collectors will assume responsibility to collect debt from people in similar situations. That's over 10 years. The original credit grantor has no right to collect the debt. As a result, he's purchased the debt from them at a discounted price. In other words, he's saying, hey, give me this obligation, and if I can collect it, we'll split it 50-50. The original credit grantor has no right. They can't sue you. They can't garnish your wages. They have no actual legal right to pursue that debt. The time has passed. These types of debts only stay on your credit bureau for 7 years, and this debt, to my knowledge, never even reached my credit bureau because it was satisfied when it happened. Now, the point that I'm trying to make is that a lot of times people are being taken advantage of by collection agencies on old debt. So what happens is the collection agency will call you and they'll harass you, and they'll put you in an uncomfortable situation, and before you realize it, you've agreed to pay a debt that you actually may not owe anymore. Once the subscribed period of time for that debt is over, you do not owe that debt anymore. The debt's been written off by the original credit grantor on their tax reports as a loss, a profit or loss. As a result, they've been indemnified, so why would you want to pay something that that's already been satisfied? But the collection agency's job is to make something out of nothing, and he's going to take your money to make his profits. It's time for our first break. This is You and Your Credit. My name's Remus Bowman. We're going to be right back.
I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, baby, you can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like.
This is Belinda Parker Brown, President of Louisiana United International. I am the host for A Force for Justice. You can listen to us every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central, exposing the injustice in our criminal justice system. You can also call in at 504-341-8255 and tell us how you have become a victim in our criminal justice system.
On the New Orleans Talk Network, A Force for Justice with Belinda Parker Brown.
This is Tanya Free. Vice President Joe Biden said Bill Clinton paid a price for his past personal scandals and that they shouldn't matter in the current campaign, drawing a distinction between those sexual allegations and the current Trump allegations of sexual assault. What's your take? Should Bill's past transgressions be fair game in Hillary's run for the White House?
The Tanya Free and Friends Talk Show. Your destination for the best in social and political straight talk. Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Back. How popular the man.
Are y'all ready for this tea? The New Orleans Talk Network has all the behind-the-scenes info, gossip, and happenings in the world of Hollywood. You gotta tune in to Dishing with Christian on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on the NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com.
I got all sides in my bag swag.
Yo, this is Madman the Big Fan, one of the hosts from FanView on New Orleans Talk Network. Check us out on our new location, Thursdays, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And remember, this is not a sports talk show. This is a talk show about sports. Make sure to tune in.
What is New Orleans Talk Network? It's today's hottest topics with an added flair. You get ready, because the conversation will be hot, and better yet, mobile. Download the New Orleans Talk Network app, available on Android, iPhone, iPad, and you can listen to us on the web at www.NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. Write down our talk line at 504-341-TALK. That's 504-341-8255. Interactive and worldwide. That's what we are. Join in on the real conversation and tell a friend about the New Orleans Talk Network.
Listen up. Your customers, our listeners, could be hearing about your business right now. Yeah, right now. Don't miss out on the opportunity to advertise with NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. Call our business department today at 504-475-4793 to hear about our great rates. NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. We provide the people, you provide the business.
You can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah.
We're back. This is you and your credit on the New Orleans Talk Network. I'm your host, Remus Bowman. Your credit reports and what information is contained on that report. Number one would be your name. Number two, your social security number, your date of birth. You can also look in the body of your credit report and find different addresses that you've lived at. Now, if there's an address on that credit report that you've not lived at, that could be a sure indication that someone has assumed your identity. That means that someone actually have applied for credit using your name and information and assumed your identity, whether they were able to complete the transaction or not. If you go into the body of the credit report, you'll be able to find transactions that you may or may not have purchased, have actually authored. Which means that if someone's trying to steal your identity, then they're not going to have, let's say, for example, in today's world, a lot of information is being transacted over the internet. So if a person is trying to steal your identity, they're generally not going to use your physical address because they don't want the information that's being transacted between that person or that company and yourself to ever meet. They don't want to send anything to your house saying that they're trying to purchase something in your name. They're going to use a different address. This is something that is going on every day. Cyber theft is one of the largest problems in the U.S. today. They're talking about identity theft even with the campaign. They're pulling emails from different people's email addresses, and forwarding it into the community. These are private information transactions that occur between one person and another consenting a person, and now they're making those transactions public. But that's how easy it is to steal your identification. Not only do credit reports contain information about your accounts and bill payment, but they also contain information about your personal identifying information. As I said earlier, your name, address, date of birth, and all of the addresses that you've lived at. Sometimes, you may have lived in Mississippi or Georgia or Texas. If you've lived in those places, then sure enough, even if it's up to 10 plus years, you may find that information on your credit report. It's unfortunate that people can steal your identity so easily, but if you don't get a copy of your credit report, you'll never know what's actually going on. Also, the credit report will also contain aliases. Now, what happens is a lot of times when females get married, they'll have their original name that was given to them by their family or parents, and then they'll have their married name, which is added on as a result of being married to a particular spouse. Now, in today's world, sometimes you'll have 2 or 3, and how many other times that person's been married, and assuming the name of the new partner that they've attached themselves to. That information will also generally be contained on your credit report. It's very important that you get a copy of your credit report so that you can have the information so you'll know exactly what's going on in your financial life. In just a few months, in January, most people are going to be getting their income tax checks. And what generally happens in January through about April, people start buying things. They buy cars, they try to buy houses, and that kind of thing. If you pay attention to what's going on and you start a situation now where you're trying to restore your credit, maybe, just maybe, by January, you'll be in a position to walk into a car dealership and ask for me, and I'll be able to help you buy the car, even if you started out with a 400 beacon score. There's been untold numbers of people that I've assisted in helping to purchase cars and also buying houses and get credit cards and that kind of thing, as a result of the information that I've been able to transfer to them. If you are living in the New Orleans area and you'd like to stop by and visit with me, I'll be more than happy to give you the information you need to make good decisions. Even if we can't help you today, I can generally put you on a path where you'll be able to be in a position to buy the car, a house that you want within a very short period of time, because a large percentage of the information that is found on these credit reports, a lot of them is old. And in many cases, I've found that most people are generally a little intimidated to go into their credit report, and because they don't really, especially if you're looking at it for the first time, you don't really have an idea what's there. And there's always certain codes and information like that that's kind of deceptive. Whereas, let's say, for example, I-5 or I-9 is contained on your credit report, but you've actually paid that debt out now, and the debt's 4 or 5 years old. Now, it doesn't do you any benefit. It's no benefit to you to have a paid out collection account on your credit report. You might want to try to figure out a way to get relief of that negative score, that I-5 or I-9. And if you'll call me personally, I'll give you some ideas on how to do that. If in many cases, we're also seeing where the student loans are being left on your credit report, on your credit reports, more than 4 or 5 times. I was just reading some information earlier where the United States government has decided not to use as many collection agencies. In fact, they just closed out the accounts of 5 different collection agencies within the last year or so, because they were being duplicated. The information was being duplicated on people's credit reports. And what happens is that each time that collection account is added to your credit bureau, it's adding the amount of credit that's been granted to you, the payment history, which was obviously in default because it's in a collection agency. And what that does is, if you have it multiple times, it drains your credit score. Most people that are going to have several school loans or student loans on their credit report is going to have less than a 500 beacon score, because those student loans have taken the blood out of their credit score. I can assist you or give you the information you need to get rid of some of those collection agencies. You don't have to see me. You can talk to me over the phone, or you can go to my V card, enroll in the V card, and we'll get you on the path to having a good credit score. It's very easy. A lot of times, if you are not totally aware of what you're looking at, you won't be able to interpret this information. But if you take the time to consult someone who knows how to read it, then they'll be able to give you the information that'll get you on a path that'll last for a lifetime. You know, this is a one-time shot. You don't really have to keep going back to, to someone to counsel you once that person has actually sit down and shown you exactly how to read your credit report, and you'll be able to read the ones that's online as well as the ones that you can pull up yourself. All you want to do is give yourself a second chance. I know that at one time in my life, I needed a second chance. There was actually nobody there to help me. So as a result, I did the work myself, and I'm trying to give the work to you, give you the information to make good decisions so that you'll be able to walk in to a car dealer or wherever else you want and get a credit card, a bank account. All this information that's contained on these credit reports keep you from being able to live a carefree life. It's almost the same as being arrested and establishing a felony on your public record. It works the same principle. It keeps you from having the freedom to have the rights to be able to move freely through America or through wherever it is that you are. So, don't hamper yourself. Don't be negative. It can happen for you just as it's happened for me and several others. In fact, I met with the lady earlier today before I left Toyota, and in speaking with this lady, she's going through some difficult times, and I love her, God rest her. But I've spoiled her, and I had to tell her. I said, man, I've spoiled you. I've been doing all the work for you. You got to take possession of this and start doing it yourself. You must get a handle on this information for yourself. If you don't, you'll always be in the situation that you're in. If you just learn it one time, you'll never probably have to go through another credit restoration program. But it starts today. Go to my V card, put the information in, say it's myvbc.net/Remus, REMUS. If you'll do that, we'll get you started today on a new life as far as your financial future. We have a call on line 1. We'd like to invite them to come on in and join the conversation.
I have a question. What if they write off your debt on your credit report, and then you get a offer from a company to settle your credit? Say you owe like $3,000, and they're charging off of your credit report, and then 6 months later you get offer from a company, not the original company you had the credit with, but I think it's called a recovery company.
Debt collection agency.
Yeah, well, what do you do with a situation like that?
Okay, how old is the debt?
Maybe 3 years.
Okay, let me just say this. If the debt's 3 years or less, then the company still has the right to file a lawsuit against you, which means that they can garnish you your wages. So you want to be specific about the time period. Now, let me also say this: if a debt collection agency contacts you and tells you that they're willing to settle the debt for half of the original debt, I would, if you owe the debt and you realize that you owe the debt and you have the means to pay them, I would do it. I would also be very cautious about renewing the debt. You understand what I'm saying when I say renewing the debt? So,
no, what do you mean?
Renewing the debt means that once you make a separate agreement with that collection agency to pay that debt, you're renewing the debt. You're assuming responsibility for it at that point. So that gives them additional time to force you into payment.
So if it's less than 3 years and they make you an offer to like 50 cents on the dollar, that's not a bad deal.
Actually, it's not a bad deal. However, here's the problem. When they do, you have to get all this information in writing. You need to get something from the collection agency saying that they are who they say they are and that they represent this company. Now, what happens is a lot of times the companies will sell the debt to someone else. And if they've done that, then, and you can get that in writing before you make any agreements, I would ask them to email the information to you or send it to you physically to your address before I would make any agreement at all.
If they send you like a letter saying that you owe like $3,500, but we'll take like $1,000.
Okay.
And so that's okay.
Well, yeah, I mean it's a reduction. If it's within a subscribed period of time where you can still be held accountable for that debt, you certainly want to be relieved of it.
How does that impact your credit report when you pay?
Well, it will show that the debt is satisfied at less than the full amount that was originally agreed upon.
That still have an active on your credit report?
it will still have a negative impact on your credit report.
How you get that straight?
Well, you once that debt is satisfied and you have the paperwork from the collection agency, then you can possibly go into a credit restoration program, and they may be able to remove the debt completely from your credit report.
All right, thanks a lot. I appreciate the information.
Okay, great.
We'll be your call.
Thank you very much. If you have a question for me, call me at 504-341-8255. We would like the opportunity to answer your questions for you. This is an opportunity that's free. It takes a phone call. It's an opportunity for you to get the information you need to make great decisions. Also, let me just say this. There's several credit restoration programs that are out there. And what happens is I've been monitoring them, and a lot of these restoration companies will only file on, let's say, for example, you might have 10 to 15 collection accounts, and then when you look at the information that they've only filed on 2 or 3 of them. What they're doing is they're prolonging the time that you'll stay in the restoration program. Whereas if you go with the program that I represent, they're going to file on everything that's on there all at the same time, which means that you're not going to be in the program. You're not going to need to be in the restoration program quite as long, and the price is only $87 a month. Well, it's time for our second break. This is You and Your Credit on the New Orleans Talk Network. We want to we'll be right back.
This is Tanya Free. Donald and Hillary are both flawed. 9 women in county have come forward and Wiki is still leaking. Which one is the lesser of the 2 evils? We know about no driving while black. Well, we can now add no walking while black. Let's talk about these issues and more this Wednesday on the Tanya Free and Friends Talk Show, 2 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Central.
Join Tanya Free and Friends at TanyaFree.com. On air, online, and on point.
Back. How popular the man.
Are y'all ready for this tea? The New Orleans Talk Network has all the behind-the-scenes info, gossip, and happenings in the world of Hollywood. You gotta tune in to Dishing with Christian on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on the NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com.
I got all sides in my bag swag.
This is the Reverend D. Dunn
and Charles Stewart.
We will be coming to you live every Monday, 11 to 12 noon on New Orleans Talk Network, hosting a new show, A Church Without Walls. The church is us, and the church is you. We are church with no boundaries. Stay as long as you want, leave when you want. Remember, every Monday, 11 to 12 noon, tune into A Church with No Walls.
Don't you dare miss it.
At Jones Insurance, we find that peace of mind offers a real advantage. That is why we work hard to make things easier for you by protecting your cars, your homes, your businesses, and your life. Peace of mind, isn't that the best protection? Learn what insurance can do for you. Call your agent at 504-348-1492 or visit us at 7603 West Bank Expressway, Marrero, Louisiana.
Yo, this is Madman the Big Fan, one of the hosts from FanView on New Orleans Talk Network. Check us out on our new location, Thursdays, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And remember, this is not a sports talk show. This is a talk show about sports. Make sure to tune in.
Nobody gives you better conversation about your quality of life.
Let everyone know you listen to
The New Orleans Talk Network.
You can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, baby, you can have whatever you like.
We're back. This is the New Orleans Talk Network. I'm your host, Remus Bowman, and this is You and Your Credit. I just got an email just a moment ago. Says at 12:35, your student loans may qualify for forgiveness through the Department of Education. For more information, I have the phone number right here. So if you're watching the show and you've got student loans, I'm about to give you a phone number free of charge that may help you or assist you in getting some relief from those back unpaid student loans. You need to call to see if you qualify. The phone number is phone number is 1-800-1888-588-7534. This is a text that was sent to me just a moment ago. The point is that there's a lot of opportunities to get relief from certain debt. Now, if you don't do anything, then nothing will change. I was meeting with a guy at the dealership the other day, and I was talking to him, and he was telling me his story about, well, you know, he had child support on there, but the child lived with him. And matter of fact, I met the person, the child that the child support was supposedly for. He was there trying to buy a car for the young lady. And the point is that because at a different time and place, there was, you know, some bad issues in the relationship he had with the child's mother, and she took him to child support. But over the last 10 years or so, all that stuff's been worked out. And, you know, so they had mutual relationship with the child where he, you know, and matter of fact, the lady was there as well. The only point I'm trying to make is that we sit on the sidelines when we know that we have a lot of things that we can probably get relief from, because both the parents was at the dealership at the time. They were getting this young lady a car because she was a young adult and she had gotten a job, and of course she needed transportation to and from her job, and she was also going to school at the same time, and both her parents were there. And I spoke with both of them, and they were both in agreement that the father didn't or should not have had this debt. Now, the only point is that because they didn't go down to the agencies that was placing the information on his credit report, it was still there. There's all you have to do is identify what you need to do in order to avoid these uncomfortable situations. There's on many occasions I run into people in similar situations with situations that are on their credit report that should not be there. You can have this information taken off your credit report or updated at a reasonable time, reasonable amount, very efficiently. All you have to do is know the right agency that you need to go to, and it's their job to make the information correct. It's that's the thing that most people don't understand or don't realize, is that the credit reporting agencies does not benefit by reporting information that's not correct. It's their job to report information that's correct. That's the mandate that the Federal Credit Reporting Act, Fair Credit Reporting Act, subscribes. It says that the information was designed. The Fair Credit Reporting Act was designed to promote accuracy and ensure that the credit reporting agencies maintain precise information regarding consumers' credit. If there's an agency there that says their job, federally mandated job, is to make sure that the information that they're giving to the public or giving to businesses that you're giving permission to pull your credit has to be correct, why wouldn't you want to make sure that the information was positive and reflect a good light, reflected you in a good light? Everything that that is consistent with your life, your financial life starts with a credit report. You know, think about it. When you go in and you apply for a job, name, address, date of birth, social security number. Before they ask you how much money you make, where you work at, or anything else, name, address, date of birth, social security number. Walk into Cox Cable, name and address, date of birth, social security number. Go to look for a job, name, address, date of birth, social security number, background check. Everything starts with a credit report. So as a result, the feds have guaranteed that this information should be correct. But it's up to you to make the next step to make sure that information is correct, because unmonitored, if you don't monitor what's on your credit report, suppose I've had a number of people that have told me that they've had situations where other people's spouses have bought things in their name or had them co-sign for things. How would you know if somebody's had your name added to a debt? How would you know that the person that you're no longer involved with didn't go out and buy something in your name? Think about it. It's so easy for that to occur. It's very easy for that to occur to anybody. You never really know what's going on unless you check. You know, one of the principles that I live on is that you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And what happens is a lot of times people will go into, like, let's say, for example, because I'm actively involved in the automobile industry, they'll go into an automobile dealer and they have no idea what their credit score is, and they'll get the reality then. Now, what happens is a lot of people that do what I do at the car dealerships will submit an application for credit to a number of agencies to see if we can get financing for you. But here's the thing that most people don't realize. When you go into the car dealer and you apply for a loan to buy an automobile and you don't qualify, or you're beneath the threshold of what the lending institution can accept as a debtor, that file does not just go away. Also, when you go into a dealer and they submit your application all over the place, trying to find someone to finance you, a credit analyst is going to look at all those inquiries. So your best bet is to keep the inquiries down, try to clean up your credit, try to get some of the negative items off, especially negative items that don't belong to you, off your credit report before you submit an application to a bank. Because what happens is, let's say, for example, there's lots of banks that are connected. They're doing business under several different names. You may not even realize it. So they may have the same or similar guidelines. So if you go from one dealer to another dealer, but the other dealer has a different bank that they're submitting the application for financing to, that they may want to make you the loan, but then they look and they see that you've already been turned down by their sister company. Remember what I said. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. So the number one thing you want to do is take the opportunity today and either check out the V card, call me, or at least pull up a copy of your credit report. It's time for our final break. We're going to be taking a little break, and then we're going to be right back. This is You and Your Credit on the New Orleans Talk Network.
You can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah.
What What is New Orleans Talk Network? It's today's hottest topics with an added flair. You get ready because the conversation will be hot. And better yet, mobile. Download the New Orleans Talk Network app available on Android, iPhone, iPad, and you can listen to us on the web at www.neworleanstalknetwork.com. Write down our talk line at 504-341-TALK. That's 504-341-8255. Interactive and worldwide. That's what we are. Join in on the real conversation and tell a friend about the New Orleans Talk Network.
There are moments in life when we hesitate. Buying a home shouldn't be one. Markets are changing and interest rates are still low. Now is the time to make your move. At Rocksteady Realty, we are determined to find a home for you. We know the area, provide personal attention, and more convenience. For all your residential and commercial needs, contact Willie Jones at Rocksteady Realty at 504-460-3819. Discover the Rocksteady difference.
This is Tanya Free. Vice President Joe Biden said Bill Clinton paid a price for his past personal scandals and that they shouldn't matter in the current campaign, drawing a distinction between those sexual allegations and the current Trump allegations of sexual assault. What's your take? Should Bill's past transgressions be fair game in Hillary's run for the White House?
The Tanya Free and Friends Talk Show. Your destination for the best in social and political straight talk. Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Wags Food and Culture at 1601 Plaza Drive in Marrero. Always delivering the best food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's a reason why people keep returning to Wags. The food's always hot, great portions, and it's just down home good. Call ahead to order in advance at 504-348-3080. That's 504-348-3080. And let Larry know that you heard about Wags on the New Orleans Talk Network. Call him now. Wags Food and Culture at 1601 Plaza Drive in Marrero.
You can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like.
We're back. This is the New Orleans Talk Network. I'm your host, Remus Bowman, and this is You and Your Credit. Under the Fair Credit Debt Collections Practices Act, a debt collector must identify themselves, send written correspondence to a consumer home address within 5 days of communication identifying who they are and who they are collecting on behalf of, and the balance owed in addition to the correspondence must advise the consumer that they have the right to dispute the debt and have 30 days to demand that the debt collector validate the debt. If the consumer seeks the validation, then the collector must discontinue all attempts to collect and collect the debt until such debt collector provides verification or validation of the debt. In other words, as my caller just called in about a collection agency asking to settle a debt for less than the original amount of the debt. Understand, that's quite possible. But do you actually have something in writing that you can verify that this debt collector actually represents the interests of that debtor, of that person that you're obligated to pay? Anybody can call you and tell you things. People will contact you, especially in today's world where there's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. You get phone calls all the time from all over the place. People contact me frequently and offer me opportunities to become a part of different programs that I've never heard of, and say, well, if you send us this amount of money, we can double your money. All you got to do is have a bank account. Come on, man. I'm not doing it. Let's see. In the event of obtaining a post-dated payment instrument, provide written notice of the intent to deposit the post-dated instrument. Now, understand this. A lot of debt collectors will offer you an opportunity to pay debts in advance. They say, well, you have a bank account, or you have a Visa, MasterCard, debit card, credit card, or whatever. Well, give me the credit card number or debit card number, and we'll take the money out on your account on this date, on XYZ date. Now, the problem with that is that as soon as you give them that information, more than 9 out of 10, they're going to attempt to collect that debt. And then you're going to have to fight with them to try to get your money back. But here's the thing. If you get the instrument from them showing when, the payment and how those payments are going to be structured, then they have to, by law, go in agreement with their own accepted payment structure. But if you don't get anything in writing from them, and you can't prove that you made an agreement, a specific agreement, you're pretty much on your own. And you'll be fighting a battle that you probably is going to be more costly and such a loser. And most credit card companies will not arbitrarily or immediately allow you to refuse to pay something that they've already agreed to pay, because it costs them a lot of money to try to get that money back and reapply it to your account, whereas they would just like to see it go away. Debt collectors under the Fair Credit Debit Collection Practices Act, a debt collector cannot. These are things that they cannot do. They cannot call you before 9 a.m. or after 9 p.m. any day, unless or they can't call you if you tell them you don't want them to call you. If a debt collector contacts you on the telephone and you don't want them to call you at all, you tell them the only way that you want to communicate with them is by mail. You can't completely stop them from communicating with you. They have to. That's their job. They have a right to earn a living. They have an agreement with the company that you owe money to collect on their behalf. They're not just going to go away. They can't tell other people, friends, family, or neighbors about the fact that you have a debt, that you owe a debt, and that you refuse to pay it. This was a tactic that was used by debt collectors for years. They'll threaten to tell your employer, they threaten to have you arrested, the whole 9 yards. And the next one was you're not supposed to, a debt collector is not supposed to call you at work. So if a debt collector calls you on your job, you have the right to tell them, don't ever do it again. If you do it, then I'm going to file a complaint against you with the Federal Trade Commission, which will levy a fine, and those fines can be as much as $1,000 plus court costs. I've pretty much run out of time. There's a lot more on this subject that I wanted to cover, but I'm a pretty windy guy, and I would just like to say this has been You and Your Credit on the New Orleans Talk Network. Tune in next Monday where we'll complete the information that I've left out today on dealing with debt collectors. It's very important information because a lot of times you can be manipulated into paying debts that you may no longer owe. This is Remus Bowman for You and Your Credit. This is the New Orleans Talk Network. Have a great day.